Good morning, everyone. Thanks a lot for the introduction. I would like to thank the organizer for proposing me to open this day 3 of the conference, which is dedicated to the financial sector. I think that the interest of financial institutions for cloud computing solutions is part of a much more global journey towards more digitalization and modernization of the financial market, where all actors, obviously the institutions and their service providers, but also the regulator and supervisors of the financial sector have a role to play. That's what I'm going to talk about in the next 10 to 15 minutes. Next slide, please. Okay. So what do we observe in the financial market so far? Of course, I will not provide you with a detailed study because we don't have the time to do that, but simply remind 3 key observations. Of course, competition is increasing more and more. We have now digital banks, we have fintechs, big techs that are able to provide services in a much more digital way, to provide new services building on technology or even challenging existing business models or ecosystems in the financial sector. So this is key for financial institutions to adapt to this so much changing environment. We also see, of course, clients that are more and more demanding in terms of digital services. They would like to have more convenient solutions, more user-friendly solutions, and they would like to have them now. Of course, the pandemic has also been an accelerator of this phenomenon. And so the third observation is simply that, and I'm sure you will agree with me, is that the technology is a key to answer to these 2 points. It is a key to innovation. It is a key to efficiency. It is a key for a better time to market. But of course, it comes with potentially new risks or increased risks that could be also managed. But because of these 3 observations, that's why we see more and more the financial sector moving in a major digitalization and modernization era. They try to build better user experience on the front end, and they also more and more go to increased digitalization of back and middle office tasks for increased operational efficiency. And what are the biggest technological enablers we can see? The cloud, of course. The cloud is a key one. No? Many digitalization and modernization projects we see very often rely on cloud solutions. This can be from various scales or various strategies. It can go from the adoption of some software as a service products, really to answer some specific needs, or completely to a complete migration to cloud services, building on a long-term strategy, on multi-year projects. We can also see a move to public cloud or private cloud or hybrid or multi-cloud solutions. So it can be very diverse. And why cloud? Of course, we can talk about cost reduction strategies because you remove your data center, you increase mutualization of solutions. It's also easy to deploy, ready to use, and it allows a financial group to be focused on core business competence and to benefit from IT services provided by experts, whether it be for infrastructure, platform, or software services. So cloud is very important, but it is not the only one we can see. More and more, of course, APIs are there. They are there already everywhere, and it will be probably increasing in a so connected world. In a more limited way so far, but still growing interest on artificial intelligence and machine learning, and also on distributed ledger technology for very few projects so far, but really a growing interest also for crypto assets in general. So you see that a lot of technologies are there, and there is an interconnection between those different technologies. As for instance, the cloud can facilitate the testing and adoption of other technologies. For instance, artificial intelligence products offered or not in a SaaS mode, thanks to the performance, the scalability, and easy to deploy specificities of the cloud. Next slide, please. Thank you. So, if this digitalization and transformation phase is necessary, it goes not without some important challenges. And of course, those have to be addressed. Greater operational risks during transformation projects, of course. So risk related to governance, project management, technical risks also, obviously, on data integrity, on continuity, questions on portability, if you talk about cloud. So a lot of technical challenges also, a transformation of legacy systems, containerization, etc., etc. Risk on business processes, because it's not a pure a uniquely technological move. It's really a transformation. And so a lot of impact on business processes that need also to be adapted. Of course, if you use the services or the products of a third party, here comes also increased risk linked to outsourcing or more globally to third-party governance. We can also see concentration risks if there is a limited number of players, and of course, a bigger exposure to cyber risks and attacks. That's logic. If you digitalize more, you are more connected. Of course, the attack surface is also bigger. Looking a bit at people, because we also have important challenges at people level, you can have impact on human resources, of course, because all those changes have to be well understood and controlled and implemented. So you need new skills. You need to do an effort in terms of education, training, adaptation of your organization. Also, probably to manage fear that technology can bring, fear to lose your job, for example, resistance to change. That's also key challenges. And finally, I would also mention the potential impact on consumer protection, because some technologies or the use that could be done of such technologies can also bring important impact on consumer protection. For example, in terms of, if you look at artificial intelligence solutions, you can have a big ethical risks. The fact also that APIs allow access to a lot of data, or again, artificial intelligence building on data can allow a broader access to consumer data and also be at risk in terms of data protection, for example. So challenges that have to be addressed, and I think we all have a stake in that, the entities and their service providers, but also the policymakers and the supervisory authorities. And this is why regulators and supervisors are also moving to accompany and frame the financial sector in this journey. And this is illustrated in the following slides. Next one, please. Thank you. So in Luxembourg, very quickly, just some examples of recent changes that we have done to accompany the financial sector. I will just mention 3 of them. You have noticed probably that we have created an innovation hub, which is there to be a dedicated point of contact for any person wishing to present an innovative project or to exchange views on the major challenges faced in relation to financial innovation in Luxembourg. This is an important change that should be mentioned. Even more recently, in a very pragmatic way, talking about IT outsourcing regulation, including outsourcing to cloud computing providers, we have changed 1 month ago through a circular our approach to require a prior authorization to change to a prior notification at least 3 months before the planned outsourcing becomes effective, or at least 1 month in case of outsourcing to a support PFS. This has been a response to a significant increase we have seen in IT outsourcing in the financial sector. For example, between 2019 and 2021, we have seen an increase of 40% in authorization application received by the CSSF. If we consider only a request for cloud computing outsourcing, it's even an increase of 100%, which is a lot. The last example I would like to mention is more With regards to the increase of cyber risks, we have recently, very recently, adopted together with the Central Bank of Luxembourg, the Cyber LU framework. So Cyber stands from Straight Intelligence-Based Ethical Red Teaming. This is a framework, a common EU framework that can be adopted at national level and that allow to deliver intelligence-led red team tests of entities' critical life production systems. So the idea is really to help entities to improve, to better assess their protection, detection, and response capabilities, and to fight against cyber attacks. You can also find more information on these three examples that I've mentioned on the CSSF website. Next slide, please. Thank you. So in Europe, also a very impressive list. This is non-exhaustive of new EU regulations that comes to support and to frame digitalization and more globally resilience. The ones that are listed there are, for some of them, part of the global digital finance package that the European Commission has published last year. Other are really cross-sector regulations because, of course, technology is not impacting only the financial sector, but those cross-sector regulations also have an impact on the financial sector. And I think it's also important to mention them to have a more global picture of what is coming. So I can mention, for example, the eIDAS regulation. So there is now a proposal for a review of this regulation, which is about electronic identification, authentication, and trust services. For example, the proposed revision includes an obligation for each member state to create a European digital identity wallet and to make it available to citizens free of charge. If we talk about the financial sector, what could be the impact? Well, this identity wallet will be used to access also private online services, not only public ones. If strong user authentication for online identification is required by national or EU law. So, for example, under the Payment Service Directive, a bank having an internet banking site has to put in place a strong customer authentication. This means that as part of the solution it will offer to its customers, he will have to offer also this identity wallet in the future. Another one important to mention is, of course, the review of the Payment Service Directive and more broadly, the work on a broader framework for open finance. So the European Commission is in a preparatory phase on that and should provide a first assessment in 2022. But the idea is to go to more data access, better APIs, more digital and instant payment, strong security to increase consumers' trust. So a lot of impact also on the financial sector in terms of digitalization and in terms of potential new services built, for example, on new kind of data accessed. The new regulation on artificial intelligence, so the legislative proposal is there. Here again, it's not a financial sector regulation, it is a cross-sectoral regulation. It comes with a legal framework for trustworthy AI to ensure the protection of ethical principles and to address the risk associated with certain uses of AI. And as example of high-risk use cases mentioned in this regulation, you can find creditworthiness, which is, of course, a use case dedicated to financial sector. And of course, I cannot forget the MiCA regulation, so the new regulation on market and crypto assets, with a pilot regime for market infrastructure based on DLT. This proposal was published last year or so, is still under negotiation, but it will, of course, be very important in terms of innovation and technology for the financial sector. So you can see that at European level, a lot of text try to accompany the financial sector in this transformation. Next slide, please. I just also would like to quickly mention another one, which are more dedicated to the resilience aspect. So the management of the risks linked to this modernization of the financial sector. Of course, the DORA Act, so the Digital Operational Resilience Act, which is, so the idea is to have a single rule book for ICT operational resilience in the financial sector in this context of increased digitalization, dependency on ICT, and increased operational and security risks. I will not go through all the points, but clearly the idea is to better manage the risks. ICT one, to better have an incident reporting, to manage the third-party risk management, with notably the creation of something very new, which is the creation of a European oversight framework for the oversight of critical ICT third-party service providers. And here also, of course, the big cloud service provider will be part of the entities concerned by that. And also going to threat-led penetration testing for entities designated by a national competent authority. And the final one, I would like to mention quickly, is the NIS directive, the NIS directive, Network and Information System Directive, which is also being revised. More entities should fall in the scope of this updated version of the Cybersecurity Directive in Europe, which is also important to follow. Next slide, please. So quickly, as I think I have finished the time allocated to me, just quickly to wrap up and conclude. So we see more and more cloud strategies, based on private, public, or hybrid cloud solution. We see more connectivity through APIs. We see new products and new technologies built on artificial intelligence, machine learning with data as a new gold, DLT, etc., etc. So the journey towards increased digitalization and innovation can bring a lot of benefits. I think we are all convinced about that, but should be also well understood and controlled to avoid to be too risky. So and to allow to better manage impacts at technical, human, business process, and strategic levels. This is also why the regulation and the supervision are being adapted to support and guide the financial sector in its digital transformation journey, but also to ensure that there is an appropriate risk management, ensure financial market stability and efficiency, and consumer protection. I think that all of us, financial institutions, service providers, regulators, and supervisors will agree to say that these are challenging and exciting times. In this context, training, collaboration, and information sharing become more than ever very important. And in that context, events such as the one of today represents a good opportunity. It's time for me to thank you for your attention and wish you a good and interesting day all along the different interventions scheduled today. Thank you.